I'm so glad we got this working out. But now I
I
know to
know.
tell other people when we're going live, it has to be on our phone and it has to be sideways.
Okay, good to know.
So I was sharing with people, and Suzanne, it was somebody else that I interviewed, so she's saying hello to you also.
Hi, Suzanne. Thanks for
And
joining.
she is in Italy.
Oh, awesome.
Actually,
Very
she
nice.
might not be in Italy right now. She was traveling, but anyway, she's another international group of people here, which is super exciting.
Very cool. Yes.
So I was sharing about what you had shared in your video, which dropped today in everybody's inbox. So if you haven't gotten it, it will be there. And if you're signing it now, it will show up. So I was telling about the subtleties of our intuition and how we went with our conversation. So is there something else? What are you feeling inspired to share on around, maybe more about trusting our intuition or more about using the intuition to set boundaries? Because I know that's how
I do want to share about that too. I did talk a lot about that, but since our talk, so we talked in the interview, like I'm always learning and growing. I'm always progressing. Like I always want to figure out who I am, make changes, all of that stuff. So since our talk, Marti, you inspired me. And I've actually been reading up a lot more on both empaths, introverts, and highly sensitive. So since we talked, I am discovering, because I've kind of been throwing around like, oh, I'm sensitive, or but I didn't really know what I was saying. I mean, I did, but I didn't. I didn't know all the intricacies of being a highly sensitive person.
Yes.
So my new thing has been, I am reading tons of books on being a highly sensitive person, being an empath, being an introvert, because like I talked in the interview, I think this one that that came, I labeled myself kind of as a kid, and a lot of us do because we don't understand fully what it is. So people might say we're shy, but we're really not. We're empaths, we're sensitives, we're introverts. There's an aspect, I think, of shyness, and all of those, but really it's not that we're shy, it's that we're sitting back, and as a highly sensitive, I'm learning, we're really processing and taking in the stimuli of everything around us, literally every little thing that happens around us, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. We're energetically aware of it. And that's the big thing for empaths, right? Is they're picking up this energy. I call them clair empaths, really, because it's a psychic gift. Being a clair empath, it's like a supercharged empath. So I've been learning a ton about me, and now I'm making more sense to myself because I'm learning about highly sensitive people. So I would suggest, if you're kind of unsure what you are, or really kind of where you fit into any of this stuff, start doing some research to kind of pinpoint those traits that you feel like you have, because I suddenly make way more sense to myself than I did even when I thought I was making a lot of sense to myself when we talked. So that's kind of my big takeaway, that our interview inspired me to kind of go learn more. And I'm really recognizing more of these traits in myself. So
I love it.
That's my plug for learning and reading. If you don't like to read, then you can probably listen. All these books are on audiobook too, or I'm actually probably going to do, I end up taking what I learn and then teaching it later. So, stay tuned for that, because that'll happen once I get a grip on myself, right?
What was your big takeaway, your big insight into yourself that you've discovered from reading?
Well, ironically, it really ties in with this whole masterclass of boundaries. And you can't, so I think my new take is, you can't necessarily put up a boundary when you don't know what boundary you need. And so by learning about who I am now in regards to this highly sensitive, right? Because this to me, so first it was shy, then I'm introverted, then I'm an empath, then I'm an intuitive, and now I'm a highly sensitive. So there's been this progression for me of like these layers and levels of understanding myself. And I do believe it went with learning about myself and growing spiritually, and also getting into my intuition, right? Because then, of course, I'm more aware of everything, literally, because I'm seeing it through the intuition filter, not my brain. So now that I'm recognizing how sensitive I am, I'm recognizing how important it is for me to figure out what boundaries I need based on this sensitivity, or in our case, we're talking about empaths, but same thing, and figure out how I can better inform people of what I'm needing to take care of myself. Because if I just go off to take downtime and I'm interacting with people in my life, they're like, well, where did Jyll go? She disappeared. We haven't seen her for 2 days. I need to tell people what I'm doing. Like, hey, I'm taking downtime. You kind of own it, right? You own your empathic. Hey, I'm overwhelmed. Like that. I'd like to go to the party for about an hour, but then I'm going to be done. And you start teaching and informing and telling your friends and family or people you're interacting with what you're like, what it means to feel this way, overwhelmed or overstimulated. And then you're explaining that you're going to go take time to take care, downtime for yourself. So that was kind of my biggest thing reading these books. All of them kind of talked about that same thing of noticing when you are getting in that position of being overstimulated. And the highly sensitive books, they talk a lot about it's that you're overstimulated. You've done too much. Your central nervous system, is taxed. And I'll talk in a minute. But I mean, it was really, really helpful for me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally stayed in bed for all day Saturday. I tried to watch some light shows that I like. And I was like, nope, I need quiet. So I read a book. I read all these books. And then Sunday, I again was like, well, I've got to do a few things. So I got up and cleaned out email and did a few items that I had to do. And then I was back in bed for the afternoon and I loved it. And you know how long it's been since I've taken a rest day? Months. And it was showing and I still I went out Monday and I was like, I shouldn't be out right now. It's too much. Even just going out a little bit was too. So I'm recognizing and I'm noticing when I'm exhausted and I'm figuring out what that exhaustion is, right?
Love it. I'm listening. I love it. I love it that you're figuring out where you're rooted and honoring yourself.
Exactly. And of course that ties in with self-care, but I think the more that you figure out yourself, you can just walk around, I'm an empath, which, I mean, everybody, I'm an empath. Well, what? Yes, a lot of us are very strong empaths, which is that clair empath that I talk about. Right. And that's literally, empathy is oh, I really feel for you. Something happened and I'm feeling for you. I can relate, or I have an empathic response to you. But clair, you're feeling it. I feel you. I feel exactly what you're going through. You might take on physical symptoms, all that stuff. So if I can figure out that watching violent, it's not actually the violence or the action shows, movies, it's the loud noises in them. It's how the volume changes when they're doing the background blow them up stuff, right? Don't watch horror movies anymore. Used to love them as a kid. Don't do that anymore unless it's a psychological thriller. So start figuring out what is affecting you and when and why. And then you're going to learn, I can't do that, or I can only do that for an hour. I was talking to my friend about this, and well, why can you go dancing on Thursday then? But you needed the whole weekend in bed, this attitude, right? Oh. And I was kind of like, well, for me, dancing is kind of, so there's a ladies' night every Thursday night here. So for me, that's my let loose time. And I haven't been going. Last week was my first week in a little while. So I have to be in the mood. I have to be, willing to go, and I want to listen to my 70s and 80s, and I want to dance. That's my let loose. That's my exercise. That's my getting into myself. That's my expressing myself. It's fun. And I sometimes stay late, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I leave after an hour. And I'm usually the only one on the dance floor. So it's not like there's this big group of people that I'm interacting with. But if they don't play the right music, I'm out. So for me, I know I'm in the mood. I'm not in the mood to deal with it. I am in the mood to deal with it. So you just learn about yourself, learn what works for you and what affects you. Talking to some, like I talked in the interview, who is draining you during your day? I used to sit by a coworker who just talked loud and talk all the, it was so exhausting. I finally had to put up like an energetic, like brick wall between us so that I could energetically focus on my own stuff, because it was so distracting to me and so jarring to my system, right? I didn't really know about the central nervous system back then. I'll probably do more studying about it now because of this, but it all is about the central nervous system and what kind of stimulus you're taking on.
It's a powerful thing to understand that we are sensitive. We feel, somebody said it, as deep as the ocean, and then to honor that and to be able to share with people without making excuses, or not even excuses, but giving reasons, giving them a lot of information, because they if they're not empathic, they don't understand, and that's okay. We don't have to give them all the nitty-gritty details. So I love that, learning more about ourselves, which was the principle of doing this whole series of 4 boundaries, is learning more about ourselves as empaths and highly sensitives and way showers and anybody clairsentient, clear empath. Now I've learned some new terms, which is super exciting for me, that I didn't put together before. So thank you for sharing that. It's so important that we honor ourselves, and when we're tapped out or when we're done, that we're done. And it's okay to be done and leave.
Yeah.
And I didn't know for a long time, when you were sharing about where we observe it all, I thought I was just weird and unsocial. Because I would just sit back and watch everything. And I didn't realize I'm reading this whole environment, and where do I resonate, or where do I feel safe?
And or people think you're stuck up because you're not talking to them, or you're not in, like I'm not, I can be, sorry, let me know if I'm not in, because I have to change hands. I can be a social butterfly sometimes, and I can also just sit back and be like, I don't know anybody. I don't care about meeting anybody. I've been on a real kick lately of like, I am so tired of surface/small talk conversations. I want to talk about real things to people, and I've been struggling being out and about around in social settings going, not interested. Like, it's a waste of my time and energy right now. Also because I've been so energetically taxed and tired, right?
Yeah.
So
Once you
I
recover,
much prefer the one-on-one.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And really what all this is doing is it's really empowering you to A, figure out who you are, and B, kind of own that about yourself, and then C, figure out how to navigate your life honoring that piece of who you are amidst the loud world. I know I went off on the social media piece, but I remember when Facebook went to adding photos in the way back when it started. Well, when I got on it in 2007, it was only text. It was like Twitter. It was only text status updates, right? And then when it changed to adding photos, I about lost it. I mean, talk about stimuli overload. Seeing all these random whatever pictures, and you're scrolling, and I was like overwhelmed, and I didn't understand it. For like, why am I so overwhelmed? Well, that's why. So start noticing that kind of stuff. What are you seeing in your feed, and is it uplifting or dragging you down?
Right. Yes.
And I say that because it's so much a part of everybody's life right now, but honestly, it's ruining us energetically, my opinion, because it is all pretty much BS. And then you got FOMO for no reason because you think something that's really not true. Anyway, I'll go off on that another time.
That whole fear of missing out. But you covered a lot today, in addition to your interview, which is in your inbox.
Yes.
So thank you. I'm so glad we could get this to work. And you can be
now
here
I know.
Now we know, and I know that I haven't gotten my Zoom to work so that I could stream it, and I like this because then I can see the comments anyway.
Yes.
So
that's true.
I appreciate you making it work and spending some time with me this morning.
Absolutely.
share a little bit more. And I love hearing all that you're learning about yourself. And of course, we're going to teach that. We always teach what we need, what we're learning.
Yep, always. Very good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we figured everything out, and hope everyone enjoys the interview and the free gift, which is the Rock Your Intuition ebook and practice playbook. Because if you aren't, in my opinion, what I teach is writing it down and tracking your intuition, or even what you think may or may not be your intuition, then you don't have a basis for how to measure your improvement or understanding of your own intuition. So that little playbook is to help you figure out more about your intuition. So thanks.
I am so excited for these gifts. And I didn't start doing that. We talked about it now. Okay, so that's now the second time I've heard the message. So let me start. I journal a lot, so I'm gonna start tracking. Do a better job of tracking.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you so much, Jyll. Have a beautiful day.
Welcome. Thanks, Marti.
And we'll be
you
talking
too.
more.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Bye.
Right. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.